back. It's the Enjoy Anime Talkshow with myself, Gareth, and my ever lovely co-host, Freddie. Yes, I've changed location.
Yet again.
I'm just keeping you on your toes, and also it's
Mm,
wherever I am. I'm going to give
mm.
people a little thing. If you can hear the wind, it's because I've got a window that doesn't shut, and I've
I was
got a
going to
very
say, yeah,
yeah, I've
you
got
have a
very
window.
I've got very sensitive. It's not flatulence. It's not beans. It's the weather. This week, let's do a little rundown. The talk show is going to be different. We're going to have a little chat about because we've been up to some things, but we're back
Such is
and we can
life.
talk about the main feature of this week is going to be Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Have you watched it all, Mr. Fred?
I have watched it all.
Yeah.
It is all up here.
I'm going to ask you a song. Ask you about. There's a song in that anime which is called. I think it's called "I Want to Stay at Your Place."
Yeah, I remember this,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
How do you feel when you hear that song right now? If I was to just play it, which I can't because of YouTube.
Uh, Man, I think I feel a bit hollow inside, honestly.
Yeah,
Man, the anime hits.
it really does. But
Man.
that'll be the main feature in a little bit. I want to talk to Mr. Fred. Mr. Fred has had an exciting adventure in the last 2 weeks. Do you
I
want to tell
have
us about that?
a little bit. I won't dive too deep into it. Yes, I had a tabletop gaming convention that I went to over last week. It's meant I've not been able to um, watch as much anime as I usually would. One of the things I have so far found and adored is when I went into a sort of quiet little board game slash bookshop. I found myself a Morg book, which
It's very
is
colourful. I'm loving
it's
those. It's almost the Cyberpunk Edgerunners colours as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
thematic.
it was tucked away, hidden in the corner of this little shop.
Did you have to fight the skeleton on the cover for the book first?
I did. I'm really sad. Apparently, there's an expansion. It's called Kill Your Necromancer, and having gone through this, it's like, damn, I kind of want to get that now as well.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
YouTube channel I follow called Tabletop Minions, and they've just released a game called Death Lord, which is
oh,
necromancer based. I don't know how adjacent
no.
those products are, but
But yeah, it describes itself as a doom metal sort of RPG, rules light system. Um, and having gone through not the whole thing yet, but a good majority of it, I adore it. It's very
excellent.
nice.
So, what kind of is it? Little plastic men, or is it a bit D&D like? I'm
I would
curious.
say it's more D&D like. Yeah, it's while the convention I was at for Little Plastic Men, this could probably be done without anything. It could be theatre of the mind.
One of
Um,
my favourite things as a DM.
mm,
Saves me money as
it's
well.
mm, yeah, I very much enjoyed it. The event itself was yeah, it was like a 2 day long event, which meant by the time I'd finished and I got back home, I basically just wanted to shut the world out because I had been very social, and being very social for such a long time drains you.
Yeah. The social battery was low, was it?
Yeah, I was probably not quite flatlining, but certainly not far off. And thing is, I didn't really book enough time off work, and so immediately, as soon as I get back, it's like, cool, you're back, you slept, back at work. Um,
It
the friend who
happens
I
to the
went with,
best of us.
yeah, my friend who I went with was much smarter and has had the week off.
Were you
So
there like, curse you?
yeah, a little bit.
As he was sat next. Did you drive together with this person,
Yes,
or. Yeah.
I drove us down there.
So
Um,
the whole time. So he could sleep in the car, and you couldn't.
yeah,
And his
yeah,
whole time, his brain was just throbbing with the big
yeah,
brain of like, I've taken the week off. Because I think I can imagine having seen the photos of the event you were at, there's like a lot of communication and potentially like
yeah.
there's always rules lawyers, right? There's
There
always
wasn't
was there not?
this
Oh my
one.
god! Tell me about
So
this non-rules lawyer event. It sounds beautiful.
so the entire event is structured as a narrative event, which means if you could like think of something that could happen narratively, um,
I win
you
the game.
could. Yeah, I win the game narratively. Um, yeah, I was going to say to make it. If anyone who sort of dabbles in it, I was playing the Warhammer 40,000s. but yeah, there was 90 of us, and so 45 aside, broken down into different tables. So it's like 5v5.
Wow.
But it's then like you could bring as much as you wanted, provided you had 1 hour to do your turn, which you might think 1 hour's a lot. Oh boy. For me, actually, 1 hour was really easy because I brought very little but very big things.
Right.
Most people brought many, many, many medium things.
Okay.
Which then meant I just like moved a few things. That was done. Everyone else absolutely panicking.
Yeah, you did send me a photo that looked like the tiny plastic men equivalent of the invasion of Stalingrad.
that's really not far from what we were doing. We were the wave assault.
Okay.
And oh boy. But anyway, enough about that. It was a good event, but it is done.
So, should we talk about anime? Should we talk a little bit about anime?
Just a little bit.
What have you been watching other than Cyberpunk? As I always term it, we have a homework anime. It's like the feature anime. If you've never been here before, we did Evangelion in a watch-along form now. It's a little bit more casual, and we've gone for Cyberpunk. But other than the homework, what have you been doing?
So, there's usually like a list of anime I try and keep on top of. Mainly because, they're coming out, I enjoy them, so it's one episode a week, it's not that much effort.
Yeah.
So, the main three that I've managed to keep on top of this week have been Kaiju number 8.
Loving that show, I've been watching it myself.
I have read, I did read it before it came out. I have a volume of the manga somewhere. I have a few volumes. So, at the time of recording, I literally have read up to where it is now.
Okay.
There are a few more episodes still to come out, so as of now, this is now new territory for me. Unless my brain's playing a bizarre trick
I believe
on me.
the manga's really far ahead. Like, I had a little look, and I was like, I wonder what the difference is. So, tomorrow night, from when we're recording this?
Depending on if you watch it in sub or dub, there is an episode already released.
Okay, so
I'm not sure if dub.
As everyone knows, I'm a dub watcher because I like to do stuff while I've got my anime on. Like, I'll be doing the cooking or the pots. I can watch the show like peripheral to the interaction that I've got. And that's how I like it. With the exception of one anime that I'm watching at the moment. We'll talk about that in a second. But I have been watching Kaiju number 8 and I've really enjoyed it. For me, Freddie will know this because I've already done the bit, I just see a lot of characters from other shows in Kaiju number 8, both in like personality and character design.
I mean, I feel like you do that. That's how your brain sort of...
I am very comparable, yeah.
In I'm guessing the anime you're going to talk about separately, you've done the same thing.
Weirdly, no, but...
yeah, it's could just be, instead of defining them as character archetypes, you're just defining them as the sort of champion of the archetype.
Okay, right. Yeah. I have been doing that then, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Kaiju number 8, which I have been enjoying. We'll see about... Yeah. Now, one that I have been watching, but I have been enjoying less so recently, is, I think it's colloquially known as Tensei Slime, or the full title being That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed the first, I think, season, possibly 2 of it.
Yeah.
Whatever's coming out at the moment, whichever one. A lot of people in the comments of the episode, on Crunchyroll at least, have been saying it should be called That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Diplomat Table.
Yeah, and one of our co-workers has also been watching that, and he's been like, it's been 7 episodes of just talking.
Yeah, one of my friends who follows along with this podcast that we do, who watched Cyberpunk because of us, he's been watching it, and he said the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And I get, it's great for world building, that's fine. thing is, I already have a really big franchise that has 30 or so years of world building in it that goes, in the Warhammers.
Yeah.
So if I want world building, I go to something else, which
Yeah.
if you don't have it, sure, it's great. But I already have something that does it more. And I mean, it's the whole thing of quantity is a quality all of its own.
Yeah.
So the Warhammer will have better bits because there's so much of it.
Perhaps this is a
Eventually, some of it's going to
conversation
work.
for a podcast where we talk about there's anime that like get shot from a gun and then they slow right down, or then you have like the internationally recognized anime trope of you've got to give it X amount of episodes, and then boy does it pick up, and it's like, can I not have like a combination? Can I have like good pacing, and instead of you having to sit around and tell me about the world, you show me the world as it's happening. So one of the shows that I've been watching, and because I've cancelled Netflix for Crunchyroll, I'm going to miss the last episode. So if someone can hook me up for the last episode of Delicious in Dungeon, that'd be great. But that show, even though it's a monster of the week show / meal of the week show, they show the world and they do it in like visual formats, and the bits that they talk about are characters' ideation rather than like, oh, that time when the elves and 10,000 years of like dialogues of the elves, like even the flashbacks are like showing. There's nothing worse than like, oh, you remember that time, and it's like everyone just stood around and you just cut to people going, yes, or like the camera sliding across the eyes for the dark reveal moment, and it's like, it's 2024.
I mean, I get, it's animation, it cost saving measures because it's like focus on the eyes. You don't have to animate a mouth then, and also if you then have a slow pan, you've got motion.
Yeah, you got motion.
Movement.
The other classic was to have people facing away from the camera. So that you could do the slow dramatic pan and then no mouth animation. It's a little bit like if you watch old episodes of Scooby-Doo, you can see like the whole Hanna-Barbera thing was to animate the head. So if you look, the bodies are all rigid, but the neck moves and the head moves, and it was like, yep, money saver, got it.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the second one that I've been watching, Tensei Slime, with my issue of show not tell, please. However, the other one, which I have been enjoying considerably more, is, now I need to get this right because, oh boy, Tsukimichi, Moonlit Fantasy. I've been enjoying that as a shonen anime that just kind of does its thing.
Does shonen stuff.
It does shonen stuff.
Yeah.
It's reasonably good. That's been doing a lot of show not tell.
Shonen not tell.
Oh,
Sorry.
Regardless. Yeah, I've been enjoying
that.
Strike.
I
was going to say, YouTube can't stand this.
Maybe that'll be the title. The people hate him for this one simple trick.
The people hate him for this one bad pun. Regardless.
He'll keep doing it.
It seems to be, even though I don't really ever hear people talk about Moonlit Fantasy, it must be quite popular, I reckon, but I never really see or hear people talk about it. Because it's got its own game coming out. Might be just a Crunchyroll thing, but yeah.
Gacha romance game coming to a phone near you.
Sans the romance with the main character. It's a bit like in Tensei Slime. The main character's like doesn't have a romantic life. It's like everyone around him does, but
okay, all right, it's one of those.
Yeah, I feel like I think the author was just for Moonlit Fantasy just kind of has avoided it for
it's
possible derailment. Yeah, it's like what happens if you go down the romance route? Oh, okay, well now I've got a whole different genre on my hand. Anyway, So those are the main three that I've really had time to watch, due to a combination, as I said, of being straight back to work and being away. That's really all I've had time to watch. What have you had time to watch?
Oh boy. So I have been watching. I've set myself a challenge, and you can say shameless self promotion. If you want to follow me on Instagram and TikTok under the name Gareth Watch Anime, you will see I've challenged myself to watch Soul Eater one episode a day, and then I literally go into that room, pick up my phone, and do like a 1 minute review and analysis while also learning how to do video editing on a phone and stuff. I'm on to episode 8 as of now. And
you've met my favourite character.
So the first 3 episodes are prologues for like the protagonists. Then episode 4 is like introducing all the protagonists together. Then making like 2. So if you've never watched Soul Eater, the base premises is there's an academy that is that our world, a version of our world, because Italy's in it.
I think it's meant. I always saw it as it is our world, but like the part in which where the academy is like
on the
a bit
boundary.
like how Hogwarts. Yeah, Hogwarts in Harry Potter is like it exists, but it's like
you'd definitely know if you went to that academy. Seeing as it's 3 massive skulls attached into a castle.
Yeah, but
and the sun and moon are very noticeable.
Oh boy, they are. It's like their stylistic thing. I enjoy them.
Yeah.
But it's like the very first episode, you've got what Jack the Ripper on.
Yeah.
Is it London Bridge? It's like
yeah.
Well, London exists, so like, it's not even like it's. Ooh.
So my concern with Soul Eater, the first few episodes, is it's so obsessed with the rule of cool, like doing stuff because to show off, because, and now episodes 7 and 8, they've introduced like a real villain for them to fight, Krona and Ragnarok, and I just love that character. I like how, oh god, my counselor brain could switch on so bad for Krona.
Okay, I was gonna say Krona is, they are very much like
they're Venom. There's Eddie Brock and Venom-esque, apart from, unlike Eddie Brock and Venom, where like Eddie Brock and Venom are 2 buddies who've had bad breakups at the same time, and it turns out it was the same person they were dating. Krona and Ragnarok is a jerk because it thinks it's toughening Krona up to be able to deal with them and to make them more powerful, from what I can see. Like, Ragnarok weirdly cares in a terrible way, from what I can see so far. And I love Frankenstein. I just love Dr. Frankenstein. I want to simp for a second. I just love the fact that he introduces, he's not rule of cool. He's powerful, and he does it because, not because, oh, it's cool to have this stance or this gun or to do this thing. I'm powerful because I fully understand the interactions between the body, the soul weapon, the wavelengths. Frustratingly, like I hate Black Star. He annoys the absolute. I hate him. But Frankenstein is like, this is what you could be if you stop being a knob for 5 minutes. Yeah, Freddy's face.
I get you. I always I did find Black Star that sort of like, I didn't really care about them, but I feel like there are characters who are meant to target different audiences.
Yeah.
For example, like, so the person who actually very first introduced me was one of my friends from school, and her favorite character was Maka, but then I think very much saw herself in her.
Okay, yeah. MC energy.
I wouldn't even say that. It's funnily enough, she actually looked quite similar as well. She had a very similar appearance, but
Blonde Wednesday Addams.
probably. I was going to say this was a while ago, but the the different characters I feel like appeal to different people. Like I feel like Black Star is meant to appeal to a much younger audience than we are.
Yeah. I think of Black Star as just like an American theatre kid stereotype.
I mean, it feels like they're designed to be that way. They literally have a star in their name.
Yes. And he signs the A as a big old star in Black Star. Or no, it's between the K and the S, isn't it? It's like, here, have my signature. It's like, shut up, no one cares. From my opinion. Shut up, kid!
It's one of those things, a bit like in Evangelion, having a character who is written to be that kind of way also gives them a vast scope for improvement.
Yeah.
I do believe that will happen later. I'm not going to spoil it.
I did in my episode, because you meet him in episode 2, and in my episode 2 review, do not spoil this for me, Freddy. Do not. But I was like, is he broken? Is like Black Star broken as like a fighting character in that show? And then we get Frankenstein, and it's like, oh, that's like what top tier like fighting looks like in this. And then you're like, well, isn't Black Star's weirdly not a million miles away from that? You just need Sabaki to mum him.
Yeah, okay, I shall say nothing.
Okay. And then I've been watching 2 retro anime as the old man that I am. I've been watching Bubblegum Crisis, which has a hilarious problem with boomers. That's the name of the robots in the why do they have to look like us? Is the clip. I think if you find us on Instagram, Enjoy Anime Talkshow, I put a clip up, and I also put a clip up of the other retro show I'm watching, Yu Yu Hakusho, which is like Hunter x Hunter before Hunter x Hunter, and I'm into apparently the best written fighting tournament arc, the Dart tournament arc. Is a big discussion in the anime community about how good that is. Interestingly, both main characters wear green and have dark hair.
There's a lot of characters with green and dark green hair.
But it's the same author. It's Togashi. So it's like, was Yu Yu Hakusho like the prototype for Hunter x Hunter? Technically, neither of these are finished, although Hunter x Hunter fans will be excited to know new Hunter x Hunter is coming out. Sadly, new Fairy Tail is also coming out. But, I said that. And then, just quickly this is like a news piece rather than a little discussion of what we've been watching. Gainax has filed for bankruptcy. The Evangelion studio is going under, which maybe explains why Hideaki Anno recently said he's stepping away from Evangelion, but there's talk about more Evangelion products or shows, and maybe that was Gainax's like, just keep giving them what they want, just more parental issues and robots.
Maybe.
Or maybe it'll be sold on. That's a big thing to do with Japanese properties, sell it to another studio.
From memory, I believe there are 2 current anime studios that have been spawned from people who worked at Gainax. So I guess their teachings will live on, I believe.
Just come and work. A little bit like The Simpsons and Futurama, potentially.
Maybe.
Where when they were making Futurama, they took a lot of the writers over from The Simpsons and like, we need this show to work. And then Fox cancelled the contract, and then they were like, we need you back at The Simpsons. And then The Simpsons has been terrible for ages, and Futurama got a new contract. Work that out. You tell me.
Yeah. Anyway,
So yeah, those are all my
Moving
shows. I
along.
would recommend Yu Yu Hakusho. The thing that I really enjoy about it is it's up until the end of season one, all the arcs are like 2 or 3 episodes. So it feels really easy to get in and meet
Mm.
the characters and understand the world. It's not like Bleach or Naruto, or I've never watched One Piece. You're gonna have to do a
No.
lot to make me watch One Piece.
I was gonna
But
say, oh boy. I mean, I've watched Black Clover, and that was a slog. I don't imagine One Piece is gonna be any like.
maybe you can help me because my nephew's a big Black Clover fan.
Yeah.
Words, I can use them. I'm allowed. Um, when that was coming out, isn't that a crossover between something to do with Bleach and something to do with One Piece? Or am I just going insane with age? Because I'm
I
sure
think
there
you're
was
going
like.
insane with age. I have not heard anything about that. Having having watched neither of the things you've mentioned, I struggle to comprehend. However, I was under the impression that it was an entirely separate thing
Oh, I'm not saying
because
like the connected worlds. I think it's something to do with like people in the creative teams like came together and did Black Clover.
I
Someone
have
tell
no
us.
idea. I am in no place to comment on that.
So, the reason we're all here, we're gathered here today, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Um, Studio Trigger, I believe, made this one, and
Hmm.
I think they had an absolute ball making this. Like, there's a lot of really great aesthetic choices. Just before we start the podcast, we had a preamble about how certain songs from that show can potentially devastate a human being. Um, it's one of those things where if you know, you know. And I bet if you, I think she's called Rose Walton, and I want to stay at your house. I think if you suddenly hear that little bit at the beginning, and you'll be like, please, I'm still
Yeah.
hurting. I think I personally really enjoyed this show.
Yeah, it's one
10
of the
great
ones.
episodes.
Yeah, I feel like a fool for not having watched it sooner, but at the same time, I feel like less of a fool for having avoided the emotional damage.
God, this
Um,
show's great. Oh my god, this show's great.
yeah, you know, as a before we dive into it, there's like something that kind of made me feel like really kind of sad in a weird way was the announcement from CDPR that I believe they are doing the final update for the Cyberpunk game, and then they're just focusing on other stuff.
Yeah, and it's this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's well, it's like it's weird. I not to be like I'm a damn hippie. I was there first. I was probably like still in like I guess it'd be middle school for Americans, but secondary school here in the UK. Um, when the very first trailer came out, and I loved it, and I remember like every few months I'd go on the website and it's just there's the trailer
Is
again,
this for
nothing's changed.
2077 or.
Yeah,
Has
yeah, the
it been out
game.
that long?
Yeah, it's been out
Re-
for well, the trailer itself, the original trailer was out for a while. Like,
Jeez. Doesn't
yeah,
feel that long ago. Then
yeah, I
again,
know.
I'm
It's like,
old and they say the memory's the first thing to go.
I
Um,
mean, it'll be a case of we'll have to look up when the first trailer was first released, but it was a long time ago.
yeah.
And because I
See,
remember talking about it to my school friends at the time, and we all got really hype about it, but nothing ever came of it. But yeah,
see,
it's like
those kind of
every
game
like,
like to play as a video game never catch me. But I have
yeah,
played Cyberpunk as a D&D adjacent style
mm,
tabletop game. Flipping creds, talking about
yeah,
the what
it's
is it?
Eddies. Come
Ed,
on, it's Eddies.
they're called. I think they were called
Yeah, yeah.
creds in the
Oh,
TT
okay. Uh,
before Eddie's was the and that because most of it was like drug selling and drug pushing
yeah,
gangs rather than anything or Bioware pushing gangs.
Yeah, I was going to say next you'll be saying you were pre-Choom.
Oh, right. That is
And
one of the pet peeves I have with this show. Is some of the language, like,
it does feel a bit. Well,
yeah,
I watched it in sub, but
yeah. Did they use the term choom and choomba?
I don't think so, because that
Thank
would
God.
stand out a hell of a
Hell of a
lot
lot.
more, especially in
Yeah.
Japanese. But I don't know if they have like a similar thing. I'd imagine so. I'd imagine
Yeah.
they, like localized it. But um, anyway, yeah. So having been there since the first trailer came out, being like really hype, like when in middle school, and even if like it took years for it to actually become anything, and then when it came out, it was a bit of a letdown because, like, to be fair, the areas that were in the trailer were done to absolute perfection.
Yeah.
The rest of it just felt like, yeah, it kind of,
T-posing on top of your car. Yeah.
yeah, it was like it felt flat in a
Yeah.
weird way.
One of my favourite, I say flop stories of Cyberpunk, the video game 2077.
Mm,
They put in sex toys as
yeah,
a droppable item, but unfortunately, due to the way the RNG works behind the scenes, they weren't in the first week there was like an uproar because they ended up statistically being a 1 in 8 drop. I believe someone did the maths. So nearly every time you broke open the chest because of how the background numbers, it was like sex toy city. One person was like, I opened this big crate of like 10 items and there they were, all 10. Oh boy, what a day.
I mean, given what you see at the start of the show, it would make sense a bit. Somebody's chest there is just gonna be that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having I don't know, going through its like entire life and then like being really excited when it came out and then playing it on its release, um, and now it's like you've just been told, yeah, it's like yeah, we're letting go of it now. It's gonna kind of do it. We're moving on. It's like ow, it kind of very much a bit like in the game and a bit like in the anime. It's like everyone has their time in the spotlight
And now
and
it's
then they'll
gone.
die. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they die.
So,
And it's good to say, so yeah, you've got the game that does that, the anime that does that, and then the game again, but from a meta perspective, that does that.
just a reminder. By the way, the
Yeah.
entire soundtrack is Rose Walton for the
Mm.
whole thing. Because are they putting the characters in that? I think because you get missions off some of the characters.
So my understanding of it is because I avoided watching the anime because even though everyone said it was great, which I absolutely agree, I'd already played it then. I'd kind of burnt out on it a bit.
Yeah,
I was taking a bit time off it.
understandable.
Um, they have added a bunch of guns, cyber mods, and locations
Oh my god, the
from the anime.
Sandevistan!
Yeah, like that's a genuine thing you can do. I remember when it came out, seeing lots of videos about it and people having great fun with it, just basically like spamming like SMGs and being like, "Cool, look at all these bullets that are going to just slam into your head."
Yeah,
Oh, have a few grenades while we're at it. Um, yeah, it's added a lot of things from the anime, but it's like because I believe you can go to Rebecca's apartment,
yes.
but I don't think you can go in, and you're not going to like meet Rebecca or Pilar or any of those for reasons because they're dead. But
Okay, so they're keeping that true to. So it's
well, I
after
mean, so
those events.
well, it's got to because otherwise the storyline with the Adam Smasher doesn't make sense.
I'll take your word for it. I've not played the game, but
You should, dirty.
so
But
before we
yeah,
talk about the show, who
hmm.
was your favourite character? Now you've seen the whole thing. Who did you like, and why was it Becca?
You see, the thing is, like, it's weird. Having watched it, everybody, when it came out said Rebecca was best girl, Rebecca's best girl, Rebecca's best girl. And I was watching and I'm like, there's nothing that kind of makes her best girl. But then the more I think about it, I'm like, every other character has quite large detractors in one form or another.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to say, we'll get to my issues with Maine and a little bit with David, because they have a very similar thing later on that kind of really annoyed me.
Yeah.
Um,
I know.
Lucy and Kiwi.
I bet you I can guess why it is already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Main. I'm a main. I really like the character of Main, and I can
hmm,
understand why he goes the
yeah.
way he does. Whereas with David, my frustration is he's kind of a narrative of what being a people pleaser is. Like he goes to school because his mum wants him to, and then he goes and lives Maine's life. I believe there's a thing called the humanity score in
Yes.
yeah, and there's an I think the second to last episode's also called Humanity, and I think it's
Mm,
referencing David losing his, and like he starts coming out of the psychosis when he's reintroduced to Lucy again.
yeah, yeah.
His humanity comes back, and the more people he loses, the more he goes, and the more metal, more chromed up he gets.
Yeah.
Um,
It was more of a chrome dome.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but yeah, I like Maine.
so yeah, Maine I very much enjoyed at the start. He was very much like
A father figure.
yeah. So something in the the forgotten episode, the lost episode. I mentioned that he's very similar to in the game. You meet a character called Jackie,
Yeah.
who is also a very large man, but he's Hispanic. Um, but he's got very similar like role both in
Right.
game and also kind of like his if you were to say build, but I don't
Yeah.
just mean physically, but yeah. Um, and yeah, that they're very much similar designed characters. But yeah, the ending kind of really
Yeah.
um so um I think I did really quite enjoy Dorio.
Yeah. Dorio's a good character.
Yeah,
I
I
like her too.
really enjoyed her for a similar reason to. So the thing is, while I would so Rebecca and Dorio are like A characters for me, like A tier,
Yeah.
because they have so little like they don't have a drawback. They don't have a thing they did that's pissed me off. Like
Right.
Lucy and Kiwi. Well, it's not to say they pissed me off. I mean, it's like it's understandable, but at the same time, it's things that annoy you. Like
Yeah.
Lucy and Kiwi both double cross people at different points.
Yeah.
Lucy double crosses someone, but then kind of I wouldn't say regrets it, but it's like which again makes sense because Kiwi having taught Lucy,
Yeah.
and Kiwi's whole thing is never trust anyone for too
Yeah.
long,
I also
and
think
so
like
hmm,
being basically like a child soldier probably had some effect on Lucy. Uh,
yeah,
I
so
hate Kiwi all the time. Whenever I've
I
seen her.
liked I I quite liked Kiwi from the most parts of it, and then when she does the whole double crossing thing, it's like, oh, okay, I dislike you for that. You're a reasonable character, but I dislike your ethics.
Yeah.
So,
I,
um,
I do think, as a whole ensemble, a whole cast, I think, is it Bartos, the writer, has
mm,
nailed like a family that you find
yeah,
aesthetic, and I think for the narrative, like weirdly, I was watching an episode in the kitchen on my phone, and my dad's like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Cyberpunk," and he's like, "Oh, tell me about it." It's like imagine like The Godfather, but set in the future.
yeah. Set in
There's
like a
like
weird conglomerate dystopia future.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Um,
like, that was like the simplest I could provide it to him.
mm,
And he was like, "Oh, sounds interesting." Although then they started like throwing words like Nova and Tomb around, and he was like, "Oh, I'm out. Uh, I'm
all this
good."
new fandangled slang.
Yeah, these
Um,
pesky kids.
um, I quite enjoyed Pilar for a similar reason to Rebecca and Dorio, in that I enjoyed him as like he's a character who very much feels like he makes fun of himself to kind of make us like other people smile.
Mm.
He's also a little bit of a creep.
I'm folding up my arms here because we disagree on Peeler. I just found him annoying as
Yeah,
I really
I
want to
just
swear badly.
I I felt bad when he died. I didn't feel like it's also the whole thing of like you're introduced to a family and then it's like you're then basically shown, in order to keep the stakes
Hi.
fairly high, that family isn't invincible. That family can die like that, like from nothing.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like reasonably like Peeler.
I think it's a good thing in the show as well to show people like the susceptibility of cyberpsychosis, because the only other kind of we'd seen is like the bit at the beginning where the show comes out a gun with like that guy who was testing it for the military, and he's just mowing down the police as if it's just blades of grass on a Sunday. He and David's watching like the script, I believe they call it, of his like
the
final
dance.
moment. The brain dance, and
he's reliving the final moment.
And then later on, he gets to do that. I enjoy when David gets to sing Davistan and just floors Katsuo. Everyone, I think maybe me especially, I love a good bully come up moment. I was like really rooting for when he's like, I don't care anymore, and then just punches him virtually through the wall. I'm right, it's not quite, but it's right up there for when Optimus Prime uppercuts Megatron off a cliff in the Transformers 1986 animated movie. And I will preface this with this. That's one of my favourite movie scenes ever. I've held on to that since I was a wee boy. Even now I get that scene and I'm like, go on. And I feel satisfied.
Do it.
But yeah, I think David's story is really good throughout of it. And both him and a little bit like when I was talking about Krona, it's like their life is living other people's expectations. And the bit that's kind of frustrating with that is Maine is also like, you don't have to live my life. It's like, if you're part of my team, I'll pay you, everyone gets a fair shake, but when it's done, be done. Which is probably your frustration with Maine, because he doesn't take his own advice when Dorio's like, dechrome, get rid of the machines, we can be a happy couple and move on. And Maine, he's gone at that point. And I think the way they use flashbacks on Maine, where you can kind of see the scared kid that he came from, and that if he's honest with himself, which he is at the end, he's like, all I've ever done is really run. Like, I've just kept running. He's never faced problems. He's just ran from them.
There's also I quite enjoyed like the sort of visual metaphor of like he's running through that like
desert
on the highway through the Badlands, Wastelands, whatever. Mixing up my dystopian futures.
My wasteland of choice.
Yeah, and the highway ends. He's at the end of the road.
Yeah,
it's like, and I think he's like he doesn't stop, turn around, and go back. He just stops, and it's like, he's at the end of the road. And I was kind of so the thing, it does annoy me when he's like, Dorio's like chrome down a bit, and just come out of cyberpsychosis. And stop teetering on the edge and just
admit
chill.
It's over.
And then he immediately becomes a child having a tantrum. It's like, no, I enjoy my chrome. I'm going to carry on chroming up.
It's like the Jim Jeffries thing, like about American gun control. You've only got one argument for having guns legal, and that's like my guns. Don't take them away from me. Like I've never heard of a protection rifle, but I've seen lots of assault rifles.
It was just different that thing of literally yeah, it was just that whole thing of like immediately when it's like, no, I'm going to carry on. It's like you are being a child having a tantrum, and the fact you cannot recognize that.
But also
Oh
he's
boy,
suffering cyberpsychosis
I
as
know
well, so it's
it is
like
that whole thing of in my head. I'm going like, I'm
he's
guessing the more chromed up you get, the more aggressive you get.
yeah. Well, you
Which,
see when spoilers when David puts on the cyber skeleton. Awful
yeah,
name, hate that name. Uh,
mm,
but he puts on the cyborg body, and these when he's installing the stuff, you can see like there's a meter for one of the things,
yeah,
and it's like how much machine is controlling the man, and it just wildly fluctuates throughout the whole thing. Like it
mm,
even goes to like 200%, also 69%. Nice.
nice.
Um,
Yeah, so I know that it's it's not that he's being a child. He is like, it's a bit like if you were to tell a drug addict, I
just
just
put
think
the
you're doing a
crack
bit too much.
down. It's easy, right?
Yeah,
You just put it down, and you're
yeah,
never
just
gonna have a
put it
problem
down.
again.
We'll have a nice life. It's like, I get that,
Yeah,
but
it's
at the
too
same
deep.
time, it's that whole thing. Like as an outside observer, it's like you are a child having a tantrum,
I have a
and oh
question.
boy, I
Maybe
have an answer.
it's something that I was thinking of. So early on in the series, uh, when they hijack the car of Becca, and they're on
Hmm.
about he likes to bet on the fights.
Hmm.
Is it Dorio who kills the butcher? Because they have a fighter in there, and they
Hmm.
uppercut the butcher, and then when there's contact, the spike goes through the head or
Hmm.
into the brain. And I'm sure Dorio has like the same spike. And I'm out of Netflix, so I can't check this.
I don't remember. I missed that detail.
But Dorio uppercuts them, and it might not be. It
Yeah.
might be someone
Okay.
else.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar.
Is there a most disliked character for you? And is it Faraday?
I was gonna say Faraday's like a real disliked character, but then it's the whole thing of like,
That's his job
yeah, it's
to,
like
to be the heel.
he's well, it's not even that. It's like even in like the setting, I can fully understand why he does it
Yeah,
because a bit like Kiwi, he's got this mentality of the only person you can really trust is
yeah,
yourself, and then it's a case of he's been just doing fine. He's been coasting along as a fixer, and then all of a sudden he's got I'm pretty sure it's Arasaka, like breathing down his neck, or is it Miltech?
he
But it's
works for
he's got
Miltech, but Arasaka
we'll find him out.
offered
Yeah,
him the big money to
he suddenly has the biggest mega corporation in Night City on his ass
yeah,
immediately. It's like I can yeah, it's a case of you do this or you die.
mm,
And he's a man who does not want to die. And so the moment he's like, cool, I need to get out of the shit. And if that means I need to butter my way up to Arasaka by burning every bridge I've built with all these
yeah,
people, I'm gonna take it. It's like, yeah, that fits his character.
yeah.
Um, so I don't blame him. I, in the same way, it's like I can sort of agree with Kiwi, but I don't know if Kiwi's thing is that like she double crosses the team, and then when she realizes she's double crossed by Faraday,
Yeah.
she then turns around and betrays Faraday, and I'm like, man, at this
It's
point,
a
I
bit
would just
late.
be, yeah, I am just like, it feels like a case of that they were like, we've got a character who can do this, but we've done all these things. Sure, she could do this. I'm like, if I were in her shoes and I double, I would just be spiteful at
Yeah.
everyone. I'd be like, you know what, you know, I know
Get.
I've betrayed you, David. I'm going, yeah. It would be a case of I've burnt every bridge. Why am I going to be nice? But then it's like it feels like right at the end they're trying to redeem her, and I'm like, don't.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, it's needed for
I'm gonna posit a
continuation. But
character to you for potentially because, like you're saying, Dorio. You like Dorio for like not necessarily just being the
she's a mother
muscle.
figure.
Yeah, like the
She's like
muscle mommy. Uh,
not
ha-
my thing. But I do very much enjoy the fact, even when you first meet her, she's reasonably nice to David. Like even when he's done the brain dance with Lucy, the rest of the crew's bust in and is like basically holding him hostage.
Yeah,
And
Maine
Maine's like,
punches him. Yeah,
yeah, it's like Maine's being like he's being a cyberpunk.
yeah,
And then Dorio's like, nah, maybe not. He's just a kid. It's like,
yeah,
wow, like she's the only person who really sticks up for him because even though
yeah,
Lucy's sticking up for him through
yeah.
silence,
I think
but
Lucy's also. I think she's in that weird position of like, oh, if I sell off this guy, I can make this profit. But there's also that kind of like teenage romance element where she's kind of like, I think he's kind of cute. That's the impression I get from her.
yeah,
Because like when it's all settled out and she's like, oh, she's like genuinely compassionate about him losing his mother.
hmm,
Um,
which
and
is
her
which
story's complicated as we go through the show as well. Like she's
yeah,
just been like forced down their minds to fight demons in the internet and basically work
yeah,
for the cruel BBEG in the Arasaka D&D campaign. She's but a mere goblin sent
yeah,
out to die in front of your overpowered level 1 NPC. Um, but
yeah.
she survives that. She's super successful at surviving that, but it comes with what it comes with to get through there.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I was going to posit maybe David in this show has a secret second father character. He's thinking.
I was gonna say Beyond Maine.
Beyond Maine. The Ripper
Um.
Doc.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the.
He's been with him. Yeah. Like, I
Yeah.
can see that.
And
Yeah.
but he's sort of like the sarcastic 90s dad.
Yeah. It's like.
Because he does care for David in a weird way, but then
Yeah.
also he gets quite petulant. Like he's
Yeah.
like a drunk father. Uh,
Yeah. He's weirdly like I would see him as like a drunk stepdad
yeah,
who's like I kind of should look out for you because even if you look at it from like the professional standpoint of like you're a customer, you
yeah.
pay. I should make it so you want to come back.
But then he
Um,
frequently is like, "You've got to stop."
yeah,
Like,
like at the
yeah,
end, he's
yeah.
like
You're amazingly like you tell yourself you're special, but
everyone
it's
does.
gonna catch you up.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, there is that bit of compassion, but the time jump for when he becomes chromed up.
Yeah,
Again, it's left sort of purposefully ambiguous, and it's weird because you can't just be like, oh well, he's buff now. It must have taken him
yeah.
a little while to get. It's like,
No,
no,
it's
that could
just
have happened.
machine.
Like, yeah, that could have happened. Like as far as we, like
Half
minimum
an
time
hour on the
difference.
operation table. Yeah,
Yeah, minimum time difference I can think of is like a few weeks, like between. It's like the entire show could, in theory, happen within like 2-3 months,
yeah.
or it could happen over years, because a lot of the time things left ambiguous. Um, but yeah, okay, I can see the second father figure of the weird, creepy. I much prefer the Ripper Doc in the game,
Yeah.
but then the Ripper Doc in the game's a reasonably nice character.
Interesting.
So he's not this like weird jerk
Yeah.
who does like brain dances on the side. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Uh, yeah, there's a lot of guys with marital aid strapped onto them
yeah.
just in public, just enjoying themselves.
Well,
And I
it covers
understand
all
that.
your bits. It covers
I'm
your bits.
curious. Not that curious. Um,
Try everything once.
uh, I believe the adage is try it twice just in case the first time was a bad experience. Um,
Why
but
stop at
yeah,
twice?
I think the show does the stories well. I think it
Yeah,
does
yeah.
David as a story arc. The Lucy story arc's good. The gang story arc, like, it doesn't feel like some shows where it's forcing everything out. This
Hmm.
feels quite elaborate, feels overdone, but
Hmm.
probably like it's weaved well. It's put together well.
Yeah.
And like when Pilar dies, even though I don't like him, it's shocking, and it
Yeah.
does that well. Um, One of the things I want to ask you about is how did you feel about when the first thing they do with the time skip is they are paid to rescue hostages from like a group of people
Oh,
in metalhead masks.
yeah, yeah.
And there's like that guy's like, "Oh, are you a little bird and you never learned to fly? Let me squash you." And David just does like, anyway, ninja flip, bullet through the back of your head. I can already fly. Cheers, Choom.
Yeah. So what was the question? Sorry.
So, how did you feel about them doing that? Like, he's more of a merc than a ganger, I suppose.
I mean, I enjoy the fact that it does show that. Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose it's nice to see that they're not just necessarily all going out killing people. They are,
Yeah,
it's. I guess it's the. Is it? I don't know if there's a name of it, but like a Robin Hood type effect.
yeah,
You're a bad person, but you can do good things.
yeah, yeah. I understand
Um.
what you mean.
So I think it gives it makes the character more compassionate,
Mm.
which you
I
kind
think
of
it
need for what's coming
also
up.
demonstrates like a difference between how him and Maine also operate.
Yeah.
Like Maine was kind of like, oh well, we push the drugs and stuff around here, and like the environments around like David's gang are
Mm.
nicer. They're
Yeah.
not as like dilapidated and run down. Like David's living in a penthouse,
Yeah. Yeah.
opposed to Maine, who seemed to be like in a squat with the rest of his gang all the time.
Mm.
Um, and then we get the amazing introduction of Falco and his mustache. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Like Falco.
yeah. How do you feel about his relationship with Kiwi? Because he's her
Um,
love interest, I think.
I didn't really pick up on that, but um, yeah. I mean, um,
Or when Becca
it
tries to
was.
kick off his mustache.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I think there's a scene with Becca that, given how good the rest of the show is, where she's got like this weird walk as she's shooting someone, and it
Hmm.
just looks like someone slapped animation cells on top of the
Hmm.
screen rather than how it's probably all computer generated and drawn. But the walk, it's like, it's just weird, and they've slow mode it as well. And I'm just like, the more I've seen this show twice, but I think I've seen that episode 3 times because of I started watching it and then I came back and I was like,
Hmm.
I best start from the beginning because I don't quite remember
Yeah.
where I was. And I was just like, every time I seen this, like she's walking and firing the
Hmm.
shotgun, I'm like, what's this design choice? What's going on with this? It feels like it should be in like Devilman Crybaby. Um, it's got
Okay.
that weird yet smooth animation.
Okay. I mean, there's there's probably reasons I can speculate, but I'm not going to
I
because
might try and stick it up as we're talking
yeah.
about it so people can see what I'm on about. Or they'll just be
Hmm.
like, Freddy, just
I,
get rid of him, he's weird.
I,
But yeah, anything else you want to finish on? Do you want to talk about Adam Smasher?
um,
Can you see we're trying to have a moment here?
he doesn't refer to in the subversion. He doesn't refer to people as a fuckable piece of meat.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, damn,
Does he not say that in the
damn.
show?
Um,
No, he says you're all the same meat to me. But I have
yeah,
heard the infamous you're
you're a
all just
fuckable
a
piece.
piece of fuckable meat, yeah.
Yeah. The yeah, I was really kind of waiting for that, and then it's like I was thinking, oh, maybe it's because I'm watching it in sub,
Yeah.
and he
He
doesn't.
doesn't
They
say
don't.
in dub. No.
Oh man.
He just says you're all the same meat to me. Um, And I'd have thought with like Becca there, Lucy there, who else is there? There's another female character.
I think when you're introduced to Adam Smasher, I'm not sure if you see him like in a scene with the two Arasaka like
one of them's called
reverse.
Kate. I'll let you pick which one's called Kate, because you know when they do the video chat bits.
Yeah.
One of she rings Faraday and it says Kate, and I was like, of all the names in this show, I mean, we've got Lucy, and then Rebecca, and then it's just like Kate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose we've got David
given
as well.
She's like what reverse or like she's something intel
counterintelligence.
Yeah, that's the one.
The spy against spies.
Yeah, I imagine that is completely fake name.
Yeah. Really called Alan.
Well, given how easy it would be to literally change your gender in Cyberpunk, I imagine you could be anyone. Just
a couple of
pick an alias.
I want to ask you whether this could be a me thing. For me, when I first watched it, and when I watched it this time around, maybe I was looking for it more. It was obvious that Faraday was going to end up at Arasaka because his face is the Arasaka logo. Because he's got the 3 eyes on one side and the other on the other. Also, how satisfying was it for you when he fell to his death?
When he splats.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed David when he got him with like the gravity wave thing and cuts his leg off, and he's like, "You can stay there, you piece of shit. I'll sort you out personally." Although Adam Smasher ruins that quite intriguingly by shooting him straight in the gut.
Yeah. Can't afford to be distracted now, can you?
I mean, to be fair, at that point, does David even have a gut? Because, like, he's just a torso strapped into that machine.
Shot and bleed, so he must get shot in the non-mechanical part of his body.
The whole 1 inch of it.
Yeah.
Although Adam Smasher offers to make him a cyborg.
He does, yeah. He offers.
I think it's interesting that Adam Smasher is meant to be like this complete horror, terror of the deep kind of character, but then he's like, got potential, kid. Maybe if you're just a brain in a bot, you could be as good. Because he does go kind of toe to toe with him, even though Adam Smasher's equipment is much better, supposedly. Well, it's like, you're on the iPhone 7, well, I'm on the 14, so...
Yeah.
Uno reverse card that one, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember. I think that Adam Smasher doesn't even have the brain part. He's, like, full robot.
Just a bit of code.
Yeah, no. Different anime, but yeah.
I mean, there's Ghost in the Shell if you've never seen it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, is he just like... I think he's meant to be like the blur between like, where do you like... And being a cyborg, you still... Okay, if you do like the Warhammer thing of like, as long as you have an organic part,
you're
still human.
Yeah, okay, but I like how slim that could be. It's the spleen of Dave, but it's still Dave and is a human.
No. Well, in the Warhammers, you've got to have a brain.
Okay.
If you don't have a human brain, you're the AI or the abominable intelligence, as the Warhammers like to call you. However, it's like, where do you go from having a brain, and it's like, because you can, when David gets shot up, you can see that like part of his head is like his eyes are chromed
human.
out. It's like, it's just like the brain is just like another organ, but it's like the moment you sort of roboticize that, because again in Cyberpunk you could mod your brain. It's like, improve memory, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point do you just become a robot? And it's like, when do you lose your soul?
I think that's part. if you want to get really philosophical with this show, I think that's the big
Yeah,
question.
I
Is
think
like, where does humanity begin and stop? What is the human heart? We're here again.
yeah,
God damn it.
yeah. But yeah, I feel like he is a character who's, one of his things is he's meant to like show you that like, yeah, where does it end?
Yeah.
Where is the line? And is there a line? But
Now the big question is
mm,
how David dies. Lucy
yes,
goes to the moon.
yep.
How was that for you? Which bit? Okay, at which point did the TV show turn and kick you in the nuts? Because
Um,
I can tell you where that is.
I was gonna say I could tell it. The pain started when Rebecca died, when she just got smashed.
Oh dear.
Just when she got stomped. It's like,
Is it wrong
oh,
that she goes in the most Rebecca way though? When
yeah, yeah,
he's literally coming down and it's like, we're trying to have a moment here. It's like,
yeah. I'm just gonna stand. I'm gonna scream at you and just shoot everything I've got. And
they do the same thing for Becca that they do with Pilar.
hmm,
So when Pilar dies, it's like they show it from every angle,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
when Becca's like, so Pilar's like, oh, that's what they say when rubbing iron.
yeah,
It's like, we're trying to have a moment here, and
yeah.
I'm
Just
like,
slam,
please
slam.
don't.
Yes. Oh, the pain.
And for me, this time, it's the second time, and I'm just like, do I just
Do you what?
so it's happening again?
Yeah.
Oh no. And then for me, I think the real kicker is when, or like that's bad. That's a sad bit. I think also
Yeah.
Falco just being disregarded as he runs away with Lucy, and he's been punched so hard his arm exploded off.
Yeah.
Is for me, it's when you see her looking at the thing that they'd seen on the brain dance, and I was like, oh god. And that's not even before she has the memory of David, which is
So now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that literally, when I watched it, was in my head afterwards. So the job that David's doing pays him 500,000 eddies, correct?
the whole team is 200 two and a
No,
half
no.
million eddies,
Was
and
it two and
his
a half
cut.
million?
So his cut. So there's 5 of them would be half
Yeah,
a
yeah.
million, and he gives. I think he gives Falco everything.
So, okay. Yeah. Man, it was. Yeah, it's just like
But there was enough money for 2 of them to
he.
go to the
I was
moon.
gonna say I think he gives Falco everything, but he says like split it between you and Lucy.
Yeah, that's still
Um.
put 1.25
Yeah,
million
one and a
eddies.
quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um.
I can go to the moon and have 1 million. Because
Yeah. Well,
it's like,
it's correction because they mention it. I thought it was. I thought it was 500,000 and then split, so that it was a
yeah.
quarter of a million each. I must have missed the 2 of the 2.5.
Everyone's just getting 100k.
Well, yeah, I
The
was
other
like,
2 millions in Freddy's
well, I mean,
pockets.
yeah, yeah, just nom 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 nom. I mean, to be fair, what Faraday gets offered 1 million for all of his
Arasaka,
like,
yeah.
yeah, but it's like he's like he offers them Lucy, he offers them Cyberskeleton David. It's like if that's 1 million, I was thinking 2.5 million seems a bit much. So maybe my
Yeah.
brain kind of went, nah, that can't be right. But my brain I had this like evidently wrong, but my brain had this like sad thought of like on the train they're discussing how much it costs. It's like, oh, because David was just doing this thing of like, oh man, it's like, oh, I didn't realize you could go to the moon for only quarter of a million. It's like, then Lucy goes, yeah, but
It's
that's a
only one
leg.
way.
And so I was thinking that it's like she got 2.5, like her quarter of a million, and then just gone to the moon. It's like,
Yeah.
not coming back.
That's definitely what she does. I think that's what's implied. Is she's like,
Yeah, but this is why I thought they got 500,000. She got her 250. Went to the moon and didn't buy a return ticket.
yeah,
I was like,
that's
man,
how it ends. I'm sure she just goes to the moon, and then she has like that memory of David,
yeah.
um,
I was
which,
expecting like the final bit to just be like the hiss of like an air seal,
all
like if she
right,
was
where
taking her
she
helmet
takes
off
the
or
helmet
something.
off.
Yeah, I was expecting that. Never
Hmm.
came. But
Like how she ends it is like, I've gone to the place where I
I've
said
gone to
we'd
the
go
place.
to.
I can see David,
Yeah,
even if it's only like a
a
memory, but I
memory.
can see him.
But he tells her to live, doesn't he? He's like, Falco, take the money and tell her I'm sorry I can't go to the moon with her, but she should live.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of the things where I also appreciate that it's like, because I think Lucy's telling him repeatedly that he's living someone else's dream,
Yeah,
and he's basically turned around and gone, okay, you live your dream.
yeah,
Don't live someone else's. You live your dream.
yeah. Don't wait for me. That's the thing.
Mm.
But yeah, Cyberpunk. Do you want to give it a little score? You got a Fred's out of 5 or 10, or you want a
Emotional damage.
emotional 10 out of 5 emotional damage?
Would cry. Would nearly cry again.
I mean,
Um,
I can't watch it now, so Netflix is bye
yeah.
bye to me. So when you were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we should do Cyberpunk," which to be fair was also my suggestion. I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute idiot. But it was one of the. I still really like that show, and the
It's
second
my
time round, I was like, "It'll be fine.
um,
I know what's happening.
yeah.
I'm not
I
fine.
did.
I'm
I,
really not fine."
yeah. The forbidden or the forgotten episode, not the forbidden one. Tis not forbidden, tis forgotten. Um, it does make me want to go back and replay Cyberpunk again
Mm.
and go. So the first time I played it, as I played for basically, I tried to recreate the original character from the original trailer, the woman
Okay.
who's like kneeling down in the range, being shot, and the bullets are like splashing off her skin, basically, and she's got the mantis arms,
Yeah.
or mantis blades, I think is what they're called. I tried to recreate that as a character and just play that. Um, I'm probably gonna. I want to go back and probably play. Weirdly, I know I said I disliked her character, but I'd probably try and play a Kiwi.
Okay. Interesting. Uh,
Because I never really did much of that. I was very much like, I guess, character wise, I was an edge runner. I was somebody who was like guns first.
yeah.
Don't really care for
Questions
cyber
later.
mods. Yeah, don't care for that much for cyber mods because in my head I'm like, I wouldn't want to be chromed up that much. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, my god, I'm playing a female character. It's like I'm not sure I'd want to get some of these mods, but oh well,
Okay.
maybe. And then my brain started going to this whole thing of like, yeah, but if you get these mods, wouldn't that mean that you'd need double? No, my brain went down
Are
this
you
whole rabbit
going
hole.
to replay it listening to the Rat Boy song, which is, as I described it to one of our co-workers, makes me think of Bolshevism. There's like that, I think it's called Welcome to the Future, and it's like really sort of like Soviet sounding at the beginning, and then it goes into like a dance electro thing. Um, it's played nearly every time they go back to like the gang's base, and it's like almost
Okay.
comedic before they go into a
Mm,
serious bit or into a heist bit.
mm.
um, Soundtrack's great in this. I love it.
Yeah, soundtrack is now put in the game,
Yeah.
but yeah, it does make me want to go back and replay it as like different styles
Builds.
of character. Yeah, different builds. Um, Also
Everyone tell
because
Freddie you want him to start gaming channels so you can see the main play, the Dorio playthrough, the Becca playthrough, the
yeah, I'd
Pilar.
probably do a Becca, but I don't know. Dorio and Main are very similar builds in that they're probably like
Yeah, but
gorilla
you're
arms.
choosing nicer options as Dorio, whereas main you're just being a hard
Bigger.
ass all the time.
Yeah. Um, Weirdly, they didn't have much of a stealth character because one of the big things in Cyberpunk is you could do stealth.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a stealth character because
One of my
they're
friends played it on the PlayStation 4, probably the best way to play it, right? Uh, on a low powered machine. Um, But he said like, oh, he had it where he had optical camouflage, so he just literally
Mm,
walked up to people and they couldn't see him, and then shot them in
mm.
the face and walked on.
Yeah,
Um,
I would, as I'd want to do, as I said, a Kiwi / Lucy build of like try and
a
go
net runner.
full net runner, full hacker.
You gonna wear the outfits on stream, Freddie, or the long pink trench coat,
Nobody wants to see
respirator, blonde
that.
wig,
That's the one thing I didn't like about
relentless
his
smoking?
design.
There's a actually before we finish up and we need to discuss something for the people. There's a line that Kiwi says at the end when they're doing the car chase, which makes no sense. She goes, "Oh, I think I've just bit the end of my tongue off," and it's like Main punches her mask off, and it's literally like just open. There's no
Yeah,
like
it, a
closing
bit
jaw.
like in the trailer for the game. Yeah, it's like no jaw.
Yeah,
It's like
and she's
her
like,
mask
"I bit
is
my
her
tongue
mouth.
off." I was like, "How? How? With what? With how?"
I took that to be some kind of like metaphor in or like a figure of speech
Yeah,
in that like she's double crossed Pete. She's like I guess in a
she's
similar way of
kept her
saying what
mouth
goes
shut.
around comes
Yeah,
around, but like she said, I've done that and it's immediately bit me in the ass. Like instead
yeah,
of saying karma or whatever, it's like you know I double crossed you and was immediately double crossed,
yeah.
and that's kind of what I took it to mean. It's like not a literal thing, and it's just
Yeah.
figure of speech.
So we're gonna move on from Cyberpunk. My opinion, in some time, would cry again. Um,
Mm,
Freddie,
I was
your
gonna say.
opinion?
I'm gonna give it a numeric value of 9 out of 10. Um, I mean 9.5 probably. Actually,
It's
gonna bump that up
really
to
good.
9.5.
It's a good show.
It is.
We'd
It is
recommend
really
it.
good. Absolutely recommend. I should have. It's one of the things where it's like I think I think you should watch it, but at the same time, because everybody tells you it's got a sad ending. It's the whole thing of like I wouldn't blame you if you want to avoid that.
They're not lying. It is a sad ending.
Yeah. Um, I do have a list. I'm one of those weird people who have a list of anime I have watched, and I have ranked them numerically.
Is it
I have
myanimelist.com?
no, no. I have a spreadsheet because I'm one of those people,
Oh, we're going
and
deep.
yeah, we're going deep. I am indeed a Factorio player.
I was
Um,
watching someone on TikTok doing a live, and he's got a Word document, and he
I was gonna say
adjusts it manually.
that is just. I mean, I've got mine color coded, so I can literally just type in the number, and it will set the color of that box
Okay.
more intense if it's like a high value.
Connor, I'm going to drop this in your Discord, and you can learn from Freddie.
don't don't go down this road.
It's a dark but colourful road.
It is colorful,
We've
yes,
got
but
coordination up in here.
um yeah. So 9.5. It's one of my favorites. Although I have two anime on my list that are a full 10 out of 10 because they are my favorites.
Is it
But
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
no, very good. It's a very good show. Not my favorite. But
Also a show that makes me feel sad.
we don't
Right.
talk about dogs. We don't talk about the dogs, Gareth.
Whenever someone has round my area has a dog named Tucker, and an uncontrollable rage occurs when they shout a dog.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they don't know because it's just an old fashioned dog name, but part
Mm.
of me is like, sure, Tucker.
Yeah. So
Don't
yeah.
ask me how a dog would wear trousers either. Um,
So
9.5. Good
nine and a
score.
half out of
Good
10.
score.
Absolute. Yeah.
The
It's like
first review. Well, it's technical, I suppose. Even Galen we did over such because like
yeah,
that
we were going like
fluctuated.
as a real in-depth thing. Yeah, that was yeah. Anyway, so what are we doing next, Gareth?
So we're gonna before we finish up the podcast, something for the viewers. Some people, if you're following us on YouTube, will have noticed recently, yes, I know there was an apology community post, but there was also a vote. So I'm going to lift up my phone quickly. We asked people, because me and Freddie had made some suggestions about shows to watch. So let me reopen YouTube. And we gave you a choice of 4 shows. One of them was so I picked 2, Freddie picked 2. I picked Big O, Mob Psycho 100.
Indeed.
We'll talk about the vote results in a second. If it opens the vote results. I'm just keeping you in suspense here, people.
I picked Run with the Wind as one that I thought was massively underrated, because again, I never hear people talk about it. Yeah. And as somebody who hates running, as being an ex-asthmatic, it made me want to go out and run. It was like a sports anime that I was like, holy shit, I adore this.
I put forward Mob Psycho, Big O, Run with the Wind, and Freddie posited Dangers in My Heart.
Yes. As like one that I thought would make you feel old as hell and just crumble to dust.
Thanks.
Given it's a high school romance.
So basically Freddie's trying to Thanos snap me with anime choices is what we've just come to. So there was a bit of a running joke, and I kept Freddie updated. So we had 50 votes. For ages, out and out running into the lead winner was Mob Psycho. Then it was Run with the Wind. Then it was Dangers in My Heart. For a week, nobody voted for Big O. For a week. The final standings.
Big old 0.
Big old duck egg. This is how the standings are. So, bottom of the pile with 10% is Dangers in My Heart.
Yep.
Second from bottom is Big O with 14%. Turn it around, baby.
I know, yeah.
Mob Psycho was second with 31%. A whopping 45% of you voted for Run with the Wind. So, 2 episodes from now, we will have watched Run with the Wind and we'll give you our opinion. I have also been asked...
As I said.
Yeah. So I'm also, if you want more reviews in your life, daily reviews throughout the whole of June of Soul Eater. I've also been requested to do daily reviews for, maybe you can give me an opinion whether I should do this or not, Freddie, the comments. I've been asked to, Gareth, you've not seen Jujutsu Kaisen, review a day. You've not watched
As
Code
the internet
Geass.
loves to say, it's peak.
Code Geass. I've watched the first series.
I haven't watched any of Code Geass. It's one of the ones where I've read a brief synopsis about it, and I'm like, it seems okay, but it's
this is my synopsis using known anime. Imagine Gundam Wing had Light from Death Note in it. So he's leading the revolution.
Okay.
That's basically the premise of it.
Okay, so I know who Light is because I've watched Death Note.
I have.
Gundam. Gundam, on the other hand, is one of those ones where I'm like...
Gundam Wing. So it's the more like... There's an infamous Hero Yui clip where a girl hands him an invitation. It's like, I will destroy you, and crumples it in her face in like the edgiest teen way available.
I have never Gundammed. I have never watched a Gundam. So, any Gundam.
Perhaps we can do a community vote where people give us suggestions and maybe we gun that damn that gun, whichever way we want to cut it. And the other show
you will
I've
be
been
barred
asked
for your bad puns.
Good. I run the editing of this show, so stop me, come and get me. And what was the third one? Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh, Tokyo Ghoul, the anime, not the manga. and I believe you've got a special place in your heart for Tokyo Ghoul.
So, Tokyo Ghoul was the first anime of, like Japanese anime that wasn't like an American cartoon
Yeah.
that I watched. Because I never had access to the pocket monsters when I was but a youth.
The Yugi
Nor did I
mods.
no, nor did I have access to the digital monsters.
Yeah.
Um,
The Digipokes, you mean?
yeah, yeah, all of those. I never. I mean, it's like I was aware of the card game, but everyone, like all of the kids at my school, would rave about. Oh, did you watch the latest Pokemon? No, I don't have access to it. I did play the games on the old Nintendo games. I enjoyed them, but in terms of anime, yeah, Tokyo Ghoul, Ghoul Eater,
Yeah.
um, still accurate. Does hold that introductory anime title to me. There are probably less disturbing ones that could have gone there, but it was at that time of my life where you just kind of it was like nothing else really gives you that cannibalistic experience.
Nothing makes you want to eat other
As
people as
Yeah, it's
much.
like, what do you want to do? Like, you're finishing middle school. What do you want to do? Oh, maybe,
Cannibalism, I
yeah,
suppose.
maybe I just want to watch somebody eat someone
Yeah.
else.
The
Like,
job market's
and
not looking very good.
have their
Slim
fingers,
pickings.
have their fingers cut off repeatedly again and again and
Count from
again.
1,000 by numbers of 7.
Yeah.
See,
So yeah.
Tokyo Ghoul, I've watched two. It's a weird one. So it was when Netflix would get like half a season or one season of a
Yeah.
show. So I saw the beginning of like the one-eyed owl, where a woman appears and swoops off with him. So yeah, if you want, we're gonna do Run with the Wind soon. Keep an eye out for other community posts. If you have suggestions, let us know. If you want to give me a suggestion for one review a day of an anime and I can watch it on Crunchyroll, and you want to see my 1 minute reaction afterwards and how bad my de-editing is, feel free to do that as well. Anything you want to add before we go, Mr. Fred?
Nope.
No? Well, I will thank you for your time and your efforts. Thank
Oh,
you, Fred.
it's been an episode.
Oh, it's been one. Thank you, audience. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.